Since the Ukraine war began in year 2022, we have never seen Russia and USA seeing eye to eye. However, recently we have seen a significant change where for the first time both US and Russia are agreeing on a single topic, and that is the Greenland. Here Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov has stated that Greenland is not a natural part of Denmark, giving credence to United States demand of taking control of Denmark. So in this video we will try to understand why Russia is taking and towing the same line as that of US, and what's interest of Russia in the Denmark itself. So first of all, if you look at the report, recently Reuters has highlighted that on January 20, Sergei Lavrov has given a statement where he has stated that Greenland is not natural part of Denmark. Rather, he has said that basically Greenland was colonized by Denmark, and thus it is nothing but extension of colonial empire. It also, however, at the same time, Russia has denied that it has any interest in Greenland as such. He says he states that he do not have, or Russia do not have any kind of territorial interest as far as the territory is concerned. If you look at the position of Trump, he wants to have US control of Greenland. We have seen before also. The reason he gives is because of ensuring the security of United States of America. National security, he says, would be emboldened, strengthened. At the same time, he also says that NATO itself will get stronger if US takes control of Greenland. Overall, many experts argue this is nothing but extension of US strategy to have control over large resources at a global scale, and more specifically in the Arctic region. US want to dominate this sphere by overall, we can say, repelling the threat posed by Russian as well as Chinese. It is in this context we have to look at the reaction of Russia. Russia has welcomed US-Europe divide, and that makes sense because that if US-Europe start to fight with each other, because we have seen indication of this. French President Macron and Donald Trump has engaged in toe-to-toe where Macron has stated that such kind of behavior toward Greenland is not acceptable. Even Denmark Prime Minister has stated that Denmark will not buzz off and will not be threatened by US interest, and if it push comes to shove, then Denmark or Danish military will be willing to fight also to US military. So obviously such kind of divide will be very welcoming, and Putin will be very happy because that greater the divide between US and European Union, more easier it will be for him to keep waging the war in the Ukrainian region. Now if you talk about the Trump, obviously rejection of Trump's accusation, Russia has basically denied any interest in Greenland, because one of the reason why Trump says that US need to have control over Greenland is because of the Russian threat. He also has stated that if US does not take control of this island, in the future Russia would. So better that anyway we'll have to get engaged if Russia start take control of Greenland. So better we do it now in the peaceful time itself. And overall, Russia has positioned itself as a neutral observer as far as the development of the situation is concerned. Now, if you look at this entire Greenland, it has been termed as a colonial territory. Denmark has enjoyed historical control over this particular island, which is also, we can say, is the largest island in the world, full of natural resources, especially rare earth minerals. And again, this entire discussion has revived the debate about to what extent sovereignty of country would be respected, to what extent rule of international rule of we can say order would be upheld by the powerful countries, or whether we have come to such a situation where the powerful country do not follow the rule, rather they write the rule. So why Greenland matters? We know that the reason is Arctic sea route. This is important for countries such as Russia, China, US, because they share a long border around Arctic region, and as the Arctic ice is rapidly melting, we can see new routes being open here. Plus obviously rare earth minerals you have, strategic location you have, and US says that missile system, which early warning system against the missile defense, can also be stated here. Now the biggest question that comes into mind is why there is a common line being recorded by both US and Russia, questioning Denmark's claim over the territorial control of Greenland as such. So first of all, again, Russia has always tried to put Western countries in a bad light by showing that these countries, especially United States of America, is showing imperial tendencies as such. Here it has stated that indigenous right of the people of Greenland who are living there, they are almost 50,000 population, they are not being respected by any country, and thus overall their progress, their development is being stifled, and that is why if Greenland is taken away, we can say, from the control of Denmark, it would nothing but it would be similar to independence, as it is a kind of colony of Denmark as such. Secondly, if try to understand sovereignty ambiguity is also there. there is a legal gray zones here also Russia has talked about. Overall, this entire discourse can be interpreted in the form of strategic manner, and it is a kind of narrative warfare because Russia want to ensure that the divide and the fracture between European Union and United States keep growing so that it can have an advantage as far as its what you can call as its sphere of influence is concerned. At the same time, Russia also has shared interest because even if Donald Trump do not directly want to weaken the European Union, such kind of a stance where he also has shown a map of Canada as being part of the United States of America, that obviously creates a divide between the Western world, between the allies of United States of America, and that would definitely play a very important role in the interest of Russia as such. Overall, it will undermine the authority of European Union, and we know that as far as the Ukraine war is concerned, because that's where most of Russia's concentration today lies, a weak Europe would be better for him, better for Putin specifically, and that is why he is challenging the Danish sovereignty as well. At the same time, NATO is a biggest threat as far as the military, in terms of military, we talk about comparison is concerned between Russia and NATO. So that will also fracture the NATO cohesion. Imagine US attacking Greenland because Trump has not clearly stated that he would not use what you can call as military means. So definitely that is also an honorable. So if that happens, that would be the end of NATO, and the biggest beneficiary would be Russia, and obviously at second number China. Overall, the leverage that European countries enjoy as far as negotiations related to the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, that leverage will also get reduced, giving Putin upper hand in determining the overall what you can call as the conflict and where conflict and war can stop, to what extent ceasefire, to what extent territorial control be exercised by Russia as such. So this is nothing but example of strategic distraction that is being created by Putin, and overall it is example of pressure politics. If you look at the Arctic power competition, here also Russia understand that if US weakens the control of Denmark on the Greenland territory, it will also give Russia a possibility in future to use the same tactics to have its own sphere of influence over weaker countries in its vicinity as such. It is overall part of US Arctic expansion, and at the same time Russia is also trying to heavily militarize as far as Arctic region is concerned. Russia is rapidly has been building up marine submarines and all that, and its submarines are basically using this Greenland route to have a surveillance over the western ships. Ice routes are obviously opening, so from trade and commerce perspective also it is important. Resource competition, military basing races, and overall we can say this entire discussion is example of shift that we are seeing in the polar areas. So in the essence we can say both Russia and US, though they seem to be standing on other side of the scale, they are having different goals. Maybe the argument remains same, and both argument is a reflection of neo-colonial neo-imperial mindset as such. US goal on the one hand is to have acquisition and control over Greenland, largely the perspective of repelling the Chinese and Russian threat. On the other hand, Russia's goal is to have a stronger influence and disrupt the cohesiveness of the Western world, and that can further reduce the challenges it faces in the international affairs. At the same time, colonial logic is being used here to refer to that Danish control over Greenland is not justified. It's something that is not concrete and can easily be challenged as such. Tactical narrative convergence we are seeing here, but it does not mean now, and because Russia is saying similar thing like that of US, that both countries will become friends or the relationship will become stronger. As far as the strategic rivalry between US and Russia is concerned, that is expected to continue in the future as well. So that's all for this particular video. If you like the video, please hit like button, share with fellow aspirants, and subscribe channel for more such content. Thank you very much.